What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I've got a lot of Destiny 2 new stuff to talk about regarding the Warmind DLC. So of course now we've seen new exotics, we've seen gear that's coming in this expansion, we've seen the Escalation Protocol event, but now I want to talk about quest collectibles. We actually have a calcified or Siva fragment style thing in this expansion. We're going to take a look at the map of Mars. We've got full details about the new strikes in the DLC, 3 unique gear sets that we'll be seeing. We've got big changes to clan Engrams, the possibility of a new sword coming in the DLC, a look at new ships, and a whole bunch of other stuff, so let's get into it. First up, I wanted to talk about the story a little bit. In the description for the DLC, we hear about the hive god Zol. Of course, Zol is a worm god, and it's very interesting if you look at the prologue for the DLC. Right as Anna Bray kind of gets to the top of this clump of ice, you see the shadow of what appears to be a huge kind of worm there. And it does bear kind of a resemblance to the worms that we saw in the Dreadnought on D1. We've got these kind of ridges or tentacles, I don't even know what you'd really call them, and you can kind of see that in the shadow on the screen, which is very interesting. Let me know what you guys think about that. But of course, Nokris, a hive prince, will also feature in this expansion. Nokris is essentially a servant to the worm god Zol. In the DLC, we'll actually be fighting Nokris in one of the 2 new strikes. So the Nokris strike is called Strange Terrain. Descend deep into the tunnels under the Hellas Basin and take the fight to the Herald of Zol. Stop this hive prince before he can funnel more power to the worm god. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm definitely very curious about this story element here. But also in terms of strikes, there is also the will of the thousands. Rasputin's neural network is under attack. Take the Valkyrie and use it to defeat a monstrous foe. And this will be a strike actually inside of the Warmind bunker. And then on top of this, there is also a PlayStation exclusive strike. Moving on though, we've seen a lot of what happens on Mars with the new Hive Escalation Protocol event. We also have the confirmation of the return of the Warsat public event from Destiny 1. This will come with some new flavors. That does leave the question though, what else happens inside of the huge Golden Age Warmind vault on Mars? Well, it's not entirely clear. I'm guessing some of the story will feature in this space. However, there are some images of what we see inside the vault. And we do see these kind of holographic items scattered around, and it turns out these are actually collectibles. So somebody shared an image on Reddit. I'm not sure whose gameplay this was from, but we do get a look at the map of Mars, and on the bottom right, you can see that there is a tracker for data recovered, 0 of 45. If you look at the icon for this though, you can see that it's actually the exact same icon as we see on the items in the game. So this is clearly going to be a new collectible item on the location. And just like we saw with the calcified fragments on the Dreadnought or the Siva fragments in Rise of Iron, it seems very possible that there will be some kind of reward, potentially a quest tied to this. So that's going to be immensely interesting to see what that turns out to be. But in terms of other possible uses for the Warmind bunker, as far as I'm aware, none of the folks who played the escalation event actually reached any of the final rounds because they were under-leveled. And just like we saw in the trailer, we do see the hunter using the Valkyrie relic right near the Warmind bunker. So perhaps some of the boss fights could actually, lead you to the Warmind bunker itself and be housed within there. And perhaps that's how we'll get some of the featured weapons and stuff. On the subject of the new legendary gear, there are 3 new themed sets to earn. So we have a basic set of weapons which come with this kind of snow camo style skin, and these are most likely vendor weapons which you'd get from packages and things like that because they seem to be pretty basic. On top of this though, there is the Braytech set of weapons, which carries the theme of the weapons that you see Anna Bray actually holding, which are somewhat unique. These certainly seem to be a sort of higher quality legendary weapon than the first set. But then of course there is the 3rd set, the Ikelos weapon set, which actually have some pretty interesting perks. You also have the armor. But in terms of some of the unique perks, the sniper rifle has a perk called box breathing. Aiming the weapon without firing for a brief moment grants bonus range and precision damage while it remains zoomed. So it's a little bit like a Widowmaker-y type bonus, I guess. There's another perk called Trench Barrel. After a successful melee hit, the weapon gains increased damage, accuracy, and handling within stricter damage fall-off for a short time. There is Seraph rounds. Rounds overpenetrate targets and bounce off hard surfaces, so kind of like ricochet rounds. And also Disruption Break. Breaking an enemy's shield with this weapon makes them more vulnerable to kinetic precision damage for a brief period. So I think it's cool, at least, that there are some pretty interesting bonuses there. One thing that I'd really hope to to see would be some new perks inside of the DLC, and it looks like we're getting at least a few. On top of this, these are also themed perks to those pieces of gear, which we haven't seen much in Destiny, so perhaps that could mean, you know, further down the road we might see more kind of raid perks or specific perks for specific types of content again. But referring back to that image of the Mars map, we can see Anna Bray as an NPC in the Clovis Bray facility. From what we've seen, Mars isn't absolutely huge, but it's certainly a good bit larger than the main space that we had on Mercury. On top of this, with the escalation protocol, the public events, adventures, and lost sectors, for the scale of the map, it's probably going to feel more fleshed out than what we saw with Curse of Osiris, considering it actually houses the new core endgame PvE activity for the DLC as well. Up next though, we do see some new ships. Now these are based on the Hawk ships, or Forces of the City ships I believe they were called, and this is just like the one that we see Amanda Holiday flying in the cinematics. We also saw a few around the tower in D1. I always really wanted one of these ships. It looks like we're finally going to get them in the game. Are they going to be Eververse though? Well, it seems pretty likely that these could be Eververse ships, but it's also worth bearing in mind Bungie did say they wanted to shift some of that stuff out of the Eververse loot table and into activities, so I'm hoping that we will get, you know, some of these themed things as quest drops and activity drops as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about though is actually some concept art that came in the press pack for this expansion, and this is concept of PlayStation exclusive armor. Interestingly though, we do see this sword that the Titan is holding, which looks pretty unique, so this could mean that we're getting some new swords in the DLC. It could possibly be an exotic. It certainly looks pretty unique. I would be pretty surprised though if we ended up with a PS exclusive sword, especially an exotic one. You know, we really want exotic swords back in the game. I just don't think that Bungie would do that, but we'll have to wait and see. It's interesting that that actually features in Warmind concept art that they were happy to publish. Now though, I wanted to finish by talking about some power level stuff as well as some clan stuff where there are going to be some pretty significant changes. So of course we've heard about the changes to power leveling in general. 385 is going to be the new cap with mods, and this time around it's going to take much longer to hit that cap. On the subject of clan Engrams though, Giggs actually confirmed this in one of his videos. Firstly, clan Engrams after the May 8th update will no longer reward trials or raid gear whatsoever. Items from these activities will no longer be present, and on top of this, clan Engrams will only proficiently increase your power level up to the 340 soft cap in order to kind of assist folks into the end game. After that though, it's going to rely much more on you as an individual completing various types of content to hit that max level. And Giggs said even for a player that's playing a lot, playing all the different types of activities, we can expect it to take around about a month to hit that max level, and that's if you play a lot. Let me know what you guys think about the clan Engram change though. Obviously pretty big. No more raid or trials rewards coming from those is definitely a positive mood for the more hardcore side of the game. I understand that some players may be frustrated by this change, but of course back in D1 you had things like trials adept weapons, you had raid items, you could only get them if you were able to complete those activities. I think there'll definitely be a lot of conversation about this change. Let me know what you guys think. On the whole though, to give some thoughts about this DLC, because a lot of people are asking me, it's kind of hard because obviously I haven't played the expansion, I didn't go to Bungie to play it or anything like that, but what I would say from what we're seeing is that most of the gear looks to be improved in some way or another. You know, the new exclusive weapons actually have unique perks that are themed around the activity they come from. It seems like there are a few more levels there with the escalation protocol actually providing a new PvE endgame that can go alongside those other things like raids and everything like that. So I think that side of things looks like a clear improvement. It's not mind-blowing or anything that Bungie haven't done in the past, but I do feel like it's looking better than things we've had in Destiny so far. With Bungie adding, you know, secret collectibles and questifying some of the stuff, that's also very positive. And when you consider we're going to get ranked play, there is going to be incentives and different levels to that, whether you're a hardcore PvPer or a more casual player, there will be a way to get rewarded. And there are actually going to be some pretty powerful end game rewards. You know, the pulse rifle for ranked play is one of the examples. And so while this doesn't solve all of Destiny's problems, I think it's clear that Bungie are moving towards the hobbyist. They want to provide reasons to continue playing the game. They want to give players things to do over time, reasons to get better at the game and challenge yourself, and ways to actually be rewarded in a more meaningful fashion than what we've seen in D2 so far. So I think that is what I'm taking away from it at this point. We'll have to see exactly how it affects the game. On the subject of exotics and the gear and things like that, obviously people have different tastes on what they like the looks of. I think there are going to be some exotic quests inside of here. It's also not clear whether Bungie have revealed all of the exotics. We saw the new SMG and the Soros regime that's Fragments returning, there's word of Sleeper Simulant returning, and so there's a lot of conversation about, you know, Bungie just bringing stuff back, but honestly, I don't think they've showed us all of the gear that we're going to see in this DLC. It just really wouldn't make sense with how they're trying to be more secretive about some of that stuff. So I think there is going to be more than what we've seen so far, but of course that's speculation, I simply don't know. My first impressions is that this is a clear improvement, and it's also a statement of intent in terms of the direction of the future of the game. However, I can't truly say whether this is a fantastic expansion to Destiny until it's actually out and we're able to play it, so I'd be curious to hear what you guys think as well. But I hope you have enjoyed the news video, guys. A lot of stuff to round up. Let me know any thoughts that you have in general. If you have enjoyed the video, a like is very much appreciated below. One final thing I wanted to mention, me and my buddy Hollowtide are actually doing a giveaway for the Confluence of Light emblem, so if any of you guys want a chance to win that, check out Hollowtide's channel. The link for the giveaway will be in the description below. There's a bunch of different ways to enter, and I appreciate Hollow running this with me. For now though, thank you guys for watching as always, and whatever you do, I hope you have an awesome day.